How many of you guys know what cryptocurrencies are, et cetera, et cetera? Everybody, but highly technical or not so technical? Yes? Highly technical? You can say things to me. Not very technical. All right, good. So, let's talk about Merkle trees. That was a joke. Jesus, guys. All right. Okay, introduce yourselves, and then we're gonna get this. We'll get this freight train off.
So my name is George. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Bitwala, one of the first blockchain banks in the world. It's pretty short, but cool.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Marc. I'm in the crypto space since 2012. Originally a tech entrepreneur, and now heavily investing in the crypto asset space.
Okay, all right. So the interesting thing about the Bitcoin price is that it goes up and it also goes down. Where's it going now?
Good question. Like, I'm no financial advisor, so.
I'm also not a financial advisor, but I think we see at the moment the natural correction. And honestly, I mean, I don't really care where the Bitcoin stands. I think it's all about the big picture, the crypto asset space as a new asset class. So similar like in the digital revolution, you also had a few stocks going up and down, a few companies disappearing, and very few really changing the whole market. And I think that's what we're going to see in the crypto asset space.
Okay, so we could talk a little bit more about crypto in general as an asset, but I also want to get into a little bit of ICOs. So ultimately, are you guys bullish or bearish on this whole idea of a valued cryptocurrency? Can there be such a thing as sort of a utility token, or can Bitcoin, Ethereum be used as the programmatic systems of stores of value as they're supposed to be?
I mean, I'm pretty bullish about ICOs in general. I mean, we as Bitwala, we also try to do an ICO as a full regulated security ICO. So for me, there's a lot of chances in this technology. But on the other side, we saw in the last year a lot of people trying to just get money and run, or try to trick investors into bad investments. But I think there's a lot to come in the near future.
Yeah, at the Crypto Finance Group, we don't touch ICOs, so we're fully focusing on as I said, the crypto assets as a new asset class. But personally, I think the technology behind the blockchain technology enabling this new way of, let's call it at the end, ultimately crowdfunding, is definitely a disruptor. Now the question is a bad entrepreneur with a bad idea suddenly a smart one because he raises a lot of money via an ICO? I don't think so. And that's what we see mostly at the moment. But I think the underlying technology could really change the way of how companies raise money.
So we were talking inside about a company called, we won't say its name, but it starts with an S and it rhymes with SaveDroid. And what they did is they basically faked an exit scam. And an exit scam is when you basically pretend that you've taken all the money and flown off to Malta or wherever. The chances of that happening in real life are reducing. Are they increasing, or are they reducing?
I mean, because of the regulatory environment and everything is changing, so that people slowly understand the whole process about an ICO and how it actually works. I think it's getting more and more complicated to do those exit scams. And in a way, I like that he did it, because he made the people aware of, okay, you can actually lose your money. But on the other hand, like companies like us who try to do our best since 2013 in this space and really try to do something good with the crypto space and with ICOs, it was really, not a good sign in general to the public, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it definitely didn't help the market. I mean, perhaps for a few people it was fun, but I think for most players in the market it was just an example of how you can lose trust and how you perhaps, compared to the traditional status quo, you get the impression that there are just crazy people being in this space. So I think SafeDroid was definitely not a good example, and I also hope that it will have certain consequences for the people behind who decided to do this as a marketing joke.
Yeah, and especially he was not a part of the crypto economy. He did a startup before, which was called SafeDroid 2, and then he did his ICO, and took use of the ICO for his mainstream product. And for me, that was really painful for the crypto economy itself, because we inside really try to do our best.
I mean, I'm a full supporter of the whole thing, but I mean, it seems like it's like the old adage, if you can't do, you teach, or something like that. So if you can't do a startup and fund it the VC way, you end up doing the ICO. Is that a good strategy? What does it take to be a successful ICO versus a good VC-funded company?
I mean, I think it's not necessarily an either-or decision. Like, we have VC money in our company, and we're thinking about doing an ICO on top. It's more like companies in Germany, for example. We don't have the access to capital, like, for example, in the Silicon Valley, where you can raise 10 million, 20 million without any problems. In Germany, that barely happens. And for us, we saw the opportunity of making a bigger round also in Germany, not moving to the United States like many other companies before did. So for me, it's not an either-or decision. You can take first VC money, take the advantage of the VC world, which is knowledge. They bring you how to actually build a startup, what to do. They make the connections, and then you can think about an ICO on top. I think it's not either-or.
Yeah, and I think it's all about the rationale behind. I mean, if you use an ICO to get money and to lower perhaps the entry barrier, especially in the seed funding phase, we had the discussion backstage that perhaps you don't have access to capital. So I think that could be a nice way to kick off your business. But if it's just about raising 10 times money you need, giving part of it to the founders and the advisors without being able to really allocate the sources you're raising, then I think it doesn't really, I mean, it's not sustainable, and I honestly also don't understand investors putting money into these cases, because, yeah, I think that are the examples where you see that it's financially not going to work out on the long run.
Yeah, and they will realize in the hard way that money is not everything. There will still be the same percentage of companies failing. So I think out of 10, 9 will fail, 1 will succeed. So you better make sure you invest in the right one.
When you have like $1.5 billion, it's a lot. It's a slower fall, right?
Yeah, but that is true.
You can buy so many chairs.
But believe me, like when you run a startup, you know how quickly you can turn up your burn rate.
Yep.
And yeah, money is gone quite quickly. Even like 10 million you can spend in a few years.
So this is a question for you guys to think about a little bit. I was in a taxi like 2 days ago with this guy who was like hammering me on the idea of blockchain, and everything that blockchain can do, and basically a MySQL database can do better, right? What's the best way to explain the benefit of this technology to people who are going to be against it almost constantly?
I mean, the blockchain for me is like a SQL database for people that don't trust each other. Because if I'm the owner of the database, I can change things. If you're running on my database and we're doing business, you better not trust me, because I would probably change the database in my favor. As soon as people don't trust each other, then it makes sense to have it on a distributed ledger, because a blockchain is in the end nothing else than a database. Put on different devices all over the world and make it really secure and hard to cheat on. And I think for parties that don't trust each other, I think there's no other way.
But shouldn't we love each other and trust each other all the time?
Yeah, of course. In a perfect world, we should.
In a perfect world.
Yeah, but
I would love that to happen.
Yeah, but this is mathematical proof that I can trust you. So even if I don't know you, then I can trust you with this.
It's not even like a warm hug. No. Wouldn't just confirm it?
I mean, it's on the blockchain.
We just destroyed all of blockchain with a warm hug.
You get some tokens for it, so all will be fine.
Hug tokens. All right, why don't you give us a...
I mean, technology-wise, I think you already mentioned a few points. I think it's interesting to understand, and sometimes I think people really already forgot what happened 15, 20 years ago in the digital revolution. I mean, the technology we have at the moment is similar to, 1999, when you had these modems going into the internet. It was very slow. Everything was very inconvenient. It was very expensive. So, I mean, we're at the beginning of this whole blockchain revolution. So, literally, it's like we have these modems back then and try to explain what's possible in a few years from now. So, that's why I think we will see an exponential development and far more use cases, because that's definitely something which is missing at the moment. Everybody is talking about the blockchain revolution and how the intermediaries and middlemen will disappear, but there are literally hardly any real use case at the moment. But I think that will change as soon as we see the technology advancing And I think there are a few very solid, very big, very disruptive use cases for this technology.
When do we hit normalization? When does everybody use the blockchain without knowing it? Because that's exactly what you said. The modem led to sort of primitive internet, which led to us having pieces of glass in our pockets that constantly can show us kitten videos at a moment's notice. When do we normalize this idea of blockchain? When does it disappear in the background and just become part of the daily noise?
I personally think that will still take like 5 to 10 years at least, because yeah, as he said, it's really, there are not so many use cases yet that are really out there. I mean, we have Bitcoin that is more or less like a transfer of value, so an alternative to a currency. We have Ethereum, where you can do more or less smart contracts, where you introduce like a programming language to these tokens, and not even that is widely scalable. So now we are waiting, even technology-wise, for on an evolution where we make Ethereum scalable for a wider audience, and so it will take some time.
Yeah, I think, let's be honest, at the moment the main use case is speculation, like cryptocurrencies and ICOs. I think that's not really changing the world. But in the internet it was porn and other illegal stuff. So I mean, back then it was also, you had to justify why you're doing stuff in the internet. The same people a few years later sometimes had to close down their businesses because they didn't see the impact of the digital revolution. But I also think it takes far more time, and ultimately it's just, as you said, I mean, at the moment people don't talk about blockchain and the technology behind. I think that's the moment where we really see use cases, because nobody, also back in the early days of the internet, was interested in HTML and browsers and whatever. They just wanted to have a real use case, a USP, having something better, more efficient, more transparent, whatever. And I think, yeah, we need some more time that we focus less on technology and more on the real added value for business and society.
So it's difficult to address what exactly got destroyed during the dot-com boom. We could say that maybe bookstores, to a degree, the big ones like Virgin, or the Virgin megastores, those things. Music was changed completely. What gets changed completely once all of this stuff shakes out, once we actually have a working blockchain globally?
I mean, there I was really different. Like, as I said, I'm in the Bitcoin space since 2011, and in the first place, it was a really revolutionary group of people who wanted to kick banks out of business and kill banks, and said like, no, we say no to banks. I said in the very beginning, it's not going to change the banks. The banks will be still there. If this technology is worth listening, they will adopt. And I think the music industry is a good example of it. I mean, we had the MP3, we had Napster that came and changed the music industry for good, but in the end, the same player, we still have the music industry that is producing the songs and making a lot of money. So we changed the way how we consume music, and maybe the middleman is now Amazon Music and Spotify, but the people in the background are still the same. So I think we won't kill the banks, because in the end, a bank is just a company that proved to have certain values or money inside the company to keep your money safe. And I think that's not going to change in the future.
I mean, I think you're partially right, because I mean, these players in the background, they earn far less money. So I think the banks, they won't disappear, but they will be far less profitable. So I think it will be quite a big game changer for some of the existing players. Personally, I think one of the biggest areas where we'll see a huge change is government, because quite a few of the services you have in a modern state are based on trust, and the government stands behind. So if you have a technology-based, neutral way of replacing this trust, let's take notary services, where you have a guy putting his stamp on it, and that means it's now trusted by the government. So if you can replace that, and that's already possible right now, it's just not adapted in the extent where it's needed, then I think one of the biggest changes will happen in the government, which I think is good, because I'd rather personally trust in a technology-based solution than in politicians, but that's my personal view. But I think governments will change dramatically based on the possibilities of the blockchain technology.
Maybe we can recreate Trump in sort of the blockchain.
Trump coin.
And then it'll just be Trump coin. It'll just be awful forever, really. Should these guys buy some crypto today? Just go out and buy it? And can they blame you if they lose their money?
I'm always a little bit careful because you never know at what time you should buy or sell or where it's developing in the short term. I think personally, in a wide portfolio or in a well-balanced portfolio, you always have risky investment, and that should be a part of this. So invest a little bit, not too much, and balance out your portfolio. That's all what I can say.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the use case of Crypto Finance Group. We target just wealthy investors, family offices, ultra high net worth. And I think if you take a few % of your gold exposure and put it into a basket or a portfolio of crypto assets, that definitely makes sense. And I think it will be interesting what's going to happen when we see the next financial crisis, because just because we have paper money, it doesn't mean that it's more stable and more safe. I mean, it seems so, but look at the inflation rate of the US dollars in the last 60 years. Hyperinflation in certain countries which are not very close and not very far away from here. So that's why I think in 5 years from now, we look at the whole crypto asset space in a little bit a different manner. So that's why I would also say allocate a small portion of your assets and your wealth into this new asset class, and then let's see what's going to happen.
So that's good. So if you guys have gold, you can just go sell it and go buy some crypto. We all have gold, right? I have bars of it at home, right? Yes?
He's from Switzerland, right?
Yeah, you're from Switzerland, so you guys
As I
got
said, we're not targeting retailers, but I mean, you can
guys,
also take some other
You guys are like the
assets.
goblins in Harry Potter or whatever, when they all right. Very cool. This was 15 minutes. It's not a lot of time to talk about a very complex subject, and you guys did very admirably. And thank you all for listening. Thanks a lot.